When David Cameron became Conservative leader 4 years ago, his big sweetener to the Euro-sceptic wing of the party was a commitment to pull the Conservatives out of the largest grouping here in the European Parliament, the centre-right European People's Party. But not everyone likes the Tories' new bedfellows here in Europe, namely Conservative MEP for Yorkshire and the Humber, Edward McMillan-Scott, a Vice President of the European Parliament. He's now appealing against the decision to expel him from the Conservative Party after a row in which he described the Polish leader of the new group as racist, homophobic and anti-Semitic. In his office overlooking Strasbourg, Edward McMillan-Scott prepares for an appeal hearing which he hopes will lead to him being welcomed back to the Conservatives. He says he's still angry at the Tory leadership's decision to expel him from the party he's served in Europe for 25 years, after he stood for the post of Vice President of the European Parliament against the Conservative grouping's official candidate, the controversial Polish politician Michał Kamiński.
Well, I think he's the wrong person to be Vice President and the wrong person to lead the group because he's had recent anti-Semitic, homophobic and racist links. These are easily discovered on the web, and the Conservative Party said it had done what they call due diligence. They'd done research. It's quite clear they hadn't, or if they had, they were hiding it.
Mr. Kamiński declined our offer to respond to those allegations on camera, but speaking last month at a fringe meeting of the Conservative Party conference, he denied holding extremist views.
I remember when I was 14, 15 years old when I heard radio, BBC, which was a voice of freedom and voice of democracy for us in Poland. I dreamed that in the free democratic Poland I will be a member of a Conservative Party.
I think the party's been slightly unwise to ramp this whole issue up, to parade this poll in front of the party conference and do a sort of rebuttal. At one point they had 8 press officers ringing up the Yorkshire Post and other newspapers trying to get rebuttal in and so on. It was quite a busy time. And I think what it did was inflate an issue which was actually quite quiet and give the Labour Party a massive opportunity to attack the Conservative Party. So it's a bit of an own goal, and those who are responsible for it, I think, must answer for it.
When you say those who are responsible, who do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's central office, it's the William Hague's team, I think, were involved in this. The truth will come out during the hearing, which, as I say, is in a few days' time.
Edward McMillan-Scott has a number of high-profile supporters in Europe. Hans-Gert-Poettering is a German Conservative and former President of the European Parliament.
I think this was a strategic mistake in the EPP-ED group. That means the parties of Angela Merkel, Nicolas Sarkozy and others. The British Conservatives were strong. We listened to them and then we always found compromises, and it's my impression that now the British Conservatives in this new group are more or less without influence in the European Parliament, and I think it is a strategic mistake Mr. Cameron has made.
I remain essentially a Conservative, even though formally, at the present time, I'm under appeal for expulsion. The last person to be expelled was Geoffrey Archer for perjury in the High Court, and he was only expelled for 5 years.
Have you considered joining another party?
Certainly not. At no stage have I ever considered joining another party. Although offers have been made, I politely turned them down.
Offers from whom?
3 separate parties.
Would you name them?
You can guess who they might be.
Len Tingle put some of Edward McMillan-Scott's concerns to Timothy Kirkhope, Conservative MEP for Yorkshire and the Humber and leader of the British Conservatives in the European Parliament.
Edward was quite happy to stand as a candidate for the Conservative Party in the elections in June. He signed the appropriate forms indicating his full knowledge at that time that we were actually going to change our group alliances after the elections. And that was the basis upon which he was allowed to stand as a candidate for us. And so therefore, you know, in a way, as I say, I'm disappointed, but also I am concerned that this action was taken by Edward, and therefore we have got a situation at the moment where only one Conservative has the Conservative whip from Yorkshire. I respect his right to make comments. That's a slightly different situation than actually defying the instructions or requests of the party in connection with a rather important strategic matter here in the Parliament, a position in the Parliament of Vice President, which our delegation had decided on a certain candidate for, and that candidate was not Mr. McMillan-Scott. And I think that his concerns about that are very important, I'm sure, in this whole discussion.
But are you comfortable with this grouping that, as far as Edward McMillan-Scott is concerned, is too far to the right, that includes MEPs from other countries, including one who is accused of being a Holocaust denier in the past and homophobic?
No, I mean, the position is clear that we went through a process of careful due diligence. I was involved myself as leader of the British delegation, working with my colleagues in London and elsewhere to try and make sure, actually, that whoever it was that we were to be grouped with or allied with in a new group would be okay from the points of view of those sort of issues. And I'm satisfied that that is the case. Of course, it is true that a number of the colleagues from other parts of Europe have different social attitudes to those in Britain. I mean, that is inevitable, is it not? We are a European Union of 27 countries. We're a European Union with countries that have very different social systems, histories, religious issues and so on. But I was satisfied that our colleagues, our new colleagues, were fine. And indeed, Mr. McMillan-Scott's accusations have been disproved. And I don't think really they should be continued with.
Well, this is one of the many grand